Something is seriously wrong with the story. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry told the world about their children's births. For years, the details didn't add up. The secrecy, the missing records, the edited documents. And now, two of the most relentless royal biographers, Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower, claim they've uncovered the truth the Sussexes worked so hard to bury. What really happened with Archie and Lilibet's arrivals? And why does it feel like the more we learn, the less sense it all makes? Stay with me. Because once the pieces start falling into place, the picture that emerges is darker and more calculated than anyone expected. From the moment Meghan announced she was pregnant with Archie, something felt off. Normally, a royal birth is like a national event. Cameras line up outside the hospital, doctors give statements, and the palace manages every detail down to the minute. But with Meghan, silence. No smiling photos on the hospital steps. No official updates. Not even a glimpse of the doctors who supposedly delivered the baby. Instead, the public got a single press release claiming Archie was born at Portland Hospital in London. But here's the strange part. No staff members were seen. No security detail was spotted. No one outside the Sussex inner circle could confirm it actually happened there. Lady Colin Campbell even called it a royal birth without witnesses, which is almost unheard of. And then came the whispers. Whispers that Archie may not have even been born in the UK at all. Think about that for a second. If true, it wouldn't just be a PR embarrassment. It could raise serious questions about Archie's status in the royal family. For a couple already clashing with tradition, the stakes couldn't have been higher. But this is only the beginning, because when it came to their daughter Lilibet's birth, the secrecy didn't stop. It got even stranger. And the details hidden in her records might shock you even more. So what do you think? Was Archie really born in London? Or is there more to the story? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this mystery only gets deeper from here. If the story around Archie raised eyebrows, what happened with Lilibet's birth sent those doubts into overdrive. By the time Meghan and Harry were living in California, many assumed the drama of royal secrecy was behind them. But Tom Bower says the opposite, that Lilibet's arrival came with its own set of questionable details. On paper, it should have been simple, a hospital birth in Santa Barbara, far away from the monarchy's watchful eye. But when reporters dug into her birth certificate, odd inconsistencies appeared. Tiny details that didn't match what Meghan and Harry told the world. Gaps that left more questions than answers. And then came the name. To outsiders, calling their daughter Lilibet looked like a touching tribute to Queen Elizabeth. But inside the palace, insiders claim it was anything but. Meghan and Harry didn't ask permission. They announced it, framing it so that the Queen either stayed silent and looked supportive, or spoke out and looked cruel. In other words, it wasn't a tribute at all. It was a trap. Behind the polished Instagram photos and glowing press releases, palace insiders whispered about the Queen being deeply hurt. What seemed like a gesture of love now looked more like a power play. And that wasn't the only time documents and names were quietly altered to fit the Sussex brand. Because soon after, the spotlight shifted back to Archie, and what Meghan secretly changed on his birth certificate would raise even more alarms. When people started noticing the strange details in Lilibet's paperwork, attention swung back to Archie, and that's when another revelation surfaced. Weeks after his birth certificate was first filed, Meghan had it quietly edited. Her real name, Rachel Meghan, was removed entirely. What was left? Only her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. That might sound small, but in the royal world, that's huge. Birth certificates are official records. They're not supposed to be changed like a social media profile. Even more shocking, the palace quickly issued a statement denying any involvement. That meant the change didn't come from tradition. It came directly from Meghan and Harry. Lady Colin Campbell described it as pure image control. By erasing her given name, Meghan could distance herself from her past and present herself only as royalty. Not a Hollywood actress turned duchess, but a carefully rebranded figure. It wasn't just about a baby's certificate. It was about rewriting identity. And that's why critics started asking the uncomfortable question. If something as basic as a birth record is up for manipulation, what else might have been shaped, edited, or hidden? So what do you think? Was this just a mother protecting her image, or was it part of something much bigger? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because the story doesn't stop here. Royal births are supposed to follow strict protocol. Doctors are vetted by the palace, medical teams are recorded on official schedules, and security staff are always in place. It's not just tradition, it's accountability. But when Meghan gave birth, palace aides admitted they were left in the dark. Instead of trusted royal physicians, Meghan reportedly brought in private doctors unknown to the family. Appointments weren't logged, updates weren't shared, and even senior staff said they had no clue what was happening or where she was. To longtime insiders, it didn't look like independence, it looked like evasion. Every other royal mother had accepted the system. Princess Diana, Kate Middleton, even the Queen herself followed the same process. Meghan broke the pattern completely, and the result was a wall of secrecy around both pregnancies. Without official doctors, photographers, or staff on record, There was no way to independently confirm what was happening, and when combined with the edited paperwork and inconsistent stories, the picture became even murkier. To critics, it no longer looked like a family protecting their privacy. It looked like a calculated cover-up. But if that was true, then why take such a risk? The answer might lie in something far less personal: money. Behind all the secrecy was another factor. Most people didn't see at first the couple's financial survival. When they signed the headline-grabbing Netflix deal, the world assumed they had secured hundreds of millions up front. But insiders revealed the truth was very different. Payments weren't guaranteed. They were tied to the success of whatever content they produced. And that's where things started to unravel. Early projects failed to deliver. A polo-themed reality series was mocked before it even launched. Other ideas were scrapped before making it to air. Executives quietly admitted the content wasn't living up to the hype. And without hits, the money slowed to a trickle. That kind of pressure can push anyone to tighten control over their public image. The children, the family story, the carefully crafted narrative, all of it became part of the brand. Every photo was released on their own terms, every statement carefully polished, and every question tightly managed. To them, privacy wasn't just about protection anymore. It was about market value. But there was one major problem. The tighter they tried to control the story, the more obvious the cracks became. And once critics spotted those cracks, the reaction was brutal. When questions about the children's births and the couple's shifting narratives began to surface, the response wasn't transparency, it was aggression. Behind the scenes, legal teams were reportedly unleashed on newspapers, blogs, and even independent commentators who dared to dig too deep. Cease and desist letters started arriving, threatening lawsuits if certain stories weren't taken down. Clips of Lady Colin Campbell's interviews disappeared from platforms after being flagged. Writers who questioned the Sussex narrative suddenly found themselves under pressure from media lawyers. For a while it worked. Some outlets backed off, not wanting to risk expensive legal battles. But in the long run, the strategy backfired in spectacular fashion. In the UK, journalists took the threats as a challenge rather than a warning. Instead of quieting the noise, the legal blitz acted like gasoline on the fire. Tabloids doubled down, commentators grew bolder, and skeptics found new audiences. Even the American press, once overwhelmingly sympathetic, began to shift its tone. Page 6, the New York Post, and even entertainment sites that used to publish glowing coverage started asking the same question. If everything is innocent, then why the desperation to silence critics? The public noticed too. Polls showed trust in the couple collapsing, with more than 65% of Britons saying they no longer believed their explanations about stepping away from royal duties. In the US, former supporters began voicing frustration. Parents in particular questioned why basic details like birth records and photographs had been withheld. What once looked like a fight for privacy now looked like manipulation. And once public trust began to slip, the media smelled blood. Suddenly, every story, from the Netflix failures to the use of the Queen's private nickname, was re-examined with sharper eyes. The image of a wronged couple bravely carving out independence began to fade, replaced by a growing sense that secrecy wasn't protecting them at all. It was destroying them. Inside the palace, the shift didn't go unnoticed. Senior royals, who had once tread carefully to avoid escalating the feud, began quietly preparing for the fallout. And according to insiders, one family member in particular was ready to take matters into his own hands. Behind Buckingham Palace walls, patience had run out. For months, senior royals had chosen silence, hoping the storm would pass. But when the birth controversies collided with collapsing public trust, the mood shifted. No longer was this about avoiding drama. It was about protecting the monarchy itself. According to insiders close to Tom Bower, Prince William was the one who stepped forward. For him, this wasn't only about duty, it was personal. Watching his grandmother pulled into a name controversy that insiders described as deeply hurtful was the breaking point. Using the Queen's childhood nickname without permission wasn't seen as tribute, it was seen as leverage. A move designed to trap the monarch in a no-win situation. Palace staff called it manipulative. To them, it wasn't a gesture of respect, but a tactic. And once that realization set in, William's frustration hardened into resolve. Behind closed doors, he began taking the lead, working quietly with senior advisors to prepare for the fallout. The decision was made: no more shielding, no more excuses. If the Sussex brand collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions, the palace wouldn't step in to save it. The silence that followed wasn't weakness, it was strategy. By allowing the couple to burn through goodwill on their own, the monarchy could avoid being dragged further into the chaos. And all the while, Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower promised that even more revelations were coming. Which left one looming question: how much damage would emerge before the final cracks gave way? When you step back and look at it all together, the secrecy around Archie's birth, the inconsistencies in Lilibet's records, the edits to official documents, the dodging of royal protocol, the Netflix pressure, and the legal battles, a pattern starts to emerge. This wasn't just about privacy, it was about control. Every detail, every narrative, every photo was filtered and polished, until nothing felt real anymore. And in trying so hard to hold the story together, the couple may have done the very thing they feared most: shattered public trust. What began as a fairy tale escape from the palace turned into a slow unraveling of contradictions, legal fights, and damaged reputations. Once hailed as brave reformers, they're now viewed by many as evasive and calculated. But here's the unsettling part. The questions remain unanswered. Where exactly was Archie born? Why were the records altered? And why take such extreme measures if there was nothing to hide? With Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower hinting at even more revelations to come, the mystery is far from over. In the end, it all comes down to one chilling thought: was the secrecy truly about protecting a young family? Or was it always about protecting the brand?